So, The Last of Us star Pedro Pascal says he's keeping a healthy distance from the game Joel. I'm assuming they mean from the game's Joel, right? From the character of Joel,
Yes.
from The Last of Us. But so
who else?
But I'm saying, but the way they phrased it was weird in the
his
article.
cousin Joel.
Yeah, his cousin Joel. 2 L's and an E at the end there if you're gonna spell Joel.
Okay.
So alarm bells went off to me initially because one of the things we covered very recently is, of course, the absolute disaster that has been the Halo TV series.
Oh my God.
And that is like, I was like, I wonder how that's going right now, because I watched episode 1. I'm like, I hate that lady character that plays she's supposed to be like girl boss, but she's like a wine mom, and I can't stand her. She's like a wine grandma or aunt. It just doesn't work, and it just captured none of my imagination. It was very derivative of, I think what did it say on Rotten Tomatoes, like derivative of like far better sci-fi without anything to really keep you attached. Like, you can do derivative sci-fi if the characters are enjoyable and likable. Even if you're telling the same plots, you need strong characters that really, really work to be able to allow the more derivative material to slide through because you're invested in the characters. This show does not have this. So that was my initial thought. And we all know that how those producers that made Halo spoke about the series, about the games, meaning that wanted nothing to do with the games. So that was my initial reaction when I saw this article.
Lest we forget, they were talking about how they've written like 200 screenplays.
It was like 295.
Yeah. About something they have never experienced.
They had no knowledge. That's, you know what? I gave that as like one of those things where it's like, that's fine, but maybe don't talk about it. Like,
no, the funny
it's horrible
thing is,
PR.
They were saying that like in order to brag. They were like, buddy, we wrote like 295 episodes, of which we chose the best 10.
Yes, of which none had anything to do with the source material.
Imagine the other like 280 episodes.
Just even worse. It's like the old women on the ship playing canasta. But that was the initial vibe that I got for this article, and there's a lot to be invested for fans of the game that this show comes out well, because this is a more narratively driven series, and Joel was absolutely probably the most loved character in the first one, and he would have been in the second one if, that hadn't happened. So it says, Pedro Pascal is currently basking in the overwhelming acclaim for his new comedy action film, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which me and Mary plan to see this week. I'm excited. I want the most Nicolas Cage movie I could possibly get. But don't let the lighthearted cinematic fun trick you into thinking that the Mandalorian star can't brood as somberly as Joel Miller from the upcoming live-action adaptation of The Last of Us by HBO. While no one would question Pascal's acting chops. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It's a Monday episode. It's fine. He might be at a disadvantage for his post-apocalyptic role. This is going to be bad. I can already tell. Because he never got to experience the game properly. When The Last of Us came up in a recent GQ interview, Pascal said, "Did you play the game? It's so sad. I haven't any skill. I tried." And there was only a matter of a minute before I had to hand it over to my nephew. It really takes a specific kind of skill, and I don't have it. He's not wrong about that.
The Last of Us doesn't seem like the type of game that you need skill for, right? It's mostly just decisions.
Some people really
like narrative-driven decisions and conversations and stuff like that.
I think it's more that like if he doesn't play games at all, it would just baffle him.
Yeah, some people can't handle it. I don't know, like. For the control, aiming on a controller is like warping for people.
Yeah. So what I find funny about this is like he's like showing his age, but the character is that age, so it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it's kind of
and let's face it, people that busy probably doesn't game that much.
Like he should watch someone play it.
So he said he watched his nephew.
The whole thing?
I don't know if he watched, if he, I don't know if somebody of his caliber of an actor has the time to watch somebody beat an entire video game. That's what I'm saying. I'll give him some leeway.
He probably has whatever time he wants.
He describes next. He says, "I watched for as long as I was able to that day, and then I had to leave for Florida. I found Joel so impressive."
Okay, it says, "I found the whole of it such a visually impressive experience, and then I got worried that I wouldn't want to imitate too much." And this is where I took some issue with that because he would have to give me a better description of what that means, like not imitate too much, which I think could be right in some circumstances and a mistake in others. So I just wanted to create a healthy distance, and for that to be more in the hands of the show the show co-writer Craig Mazin and game writer director that's Neil Druckmann, of course. So it's like he's not wrong, because as an actor he can't imitate the character entirely, because there's no way he's going to be able to recapture all of what's the guy's name, Troy Baker, the guy who plays Joel in the game. And there's going to be elements that can't be completely reconstituted word for word, scene for scene. He has to find a way to make it his own. But I feel like he paid enough respect, saying that he doesn't want to necessarily throw out the source material, but the writers have to be very careful from here on out that they don't phrase anything like that or show any disdain for the actual source material, which is where gamers are going to have a real problem.
So my initial impression of this article was like, this is Brett's trying to piss Dane off article. Well, but then I read it.
But there's more to it than that.
Right, no, definitely.
Like, yes.
No, so like, that's my intro. I was like, oh, he's going for another one.
Yes.
And then I read it, and I found this particular paragraph very charming, because like what I got from it was like the voice actor did a great job.
Yep.
And he did such a good job that I kind of want to imitate him, but I also want to offer leeway for me to do my own thing, and also take direction from the director.
Yep.
And from the gaming director that's in there. So I mean,
and
what else can you ask for? Like I don't think any other actor would have sat down.
Yeah.
I mean, there may be some like Henry Cavill that like gaming, but like, how kind of him, you know?
Yeah. I would say this is where the articles end up getting the actors in more trouble than they actually deserve to be in from time to time, meaning that headlines will read something sensational like, he didn't play the game. There was a good one from that makes the whole article about how he had his nephew play The Last of Us. But just like, that there's going to be gamers, hardcore gamers, that are going to take issue with that. And they kind of play on that for clicks, which does him no justice.
Well, honestly, they should, because like listen to how respectful he's being. Mm-hmm. He's saying like, it takes a special kind of skill to operate this.
Yep.
Thus, I conceded the.
He's like, this is my boomer cred. Like he was fine with it, and that's okay. But the thing, he's the same age roughly as the character. That means that they have to get a dude of his experience, and you're not going to find a million actors who are like Henry Cavill, who are really into gaming and really love to immerse themselves. Just because he loved The Witcher doesn't mean that every video game adaptation from now on will have somebody who loves that source material. So the best you can hope for is that they're respectful of it, and they want to treat it with a certain amount of reverence. And so it says, there's no denying that Troy Baker, the voice actor for Joel in the game, is an exceptionally tough act to follow, but there's always going to be a degree of discrepancy between the source material and the live action adaptation. The key would be to find a way to be as faithful to the source material while developing your own style as possible. And this is why I always say, why do they even bother doing this stuff? Because that's a very difficult thing to ask a showrunner to do. Very, very, very difficult.
I think after Heath Ledger completely redefined the Joker, everyone else has been trying to redefine a character.
But he redefined it from within that world, which made sense within the constructed universe that Christopher Nolan developed. This is they just want to do it as their own, as an ode to their own ego.
Right, exactly. Because in his performance was a faithful rendition of the world.
Yes. It fit within the context of that realm.
Right. And the psychosis of the character within that story that was all about proving that people were evil.
Yep.
So it fit perfectly. But now I just feel that everyone is and this is Hamlet by me.
Yes. They want to put their spin on it. But so I do think that they have a lot, and it's harder for something like this because it is so cut scenes are so beautifully done nowadays that you could lift whole scenes from cut scenes and make them and make a live action version of it. But even then it's you're not experiencing it the same way you experience it within the gameplay. So I do not there's a reason why I think that Sonic worked as a movie, why I think Detective Pikachu worked as a movie, because they're farther removed from the real world. So people disconnect more easily with that. There's references to the source material, but it's still its own narratively driven story. Whereas these games so closely resemble in story structure, real life. I mean, obviously it's not real life events. It's not what's happening in that world. But the human characters are so important to what's being told that a game where it's like fanciful characters makes more sense to adapt to a video game because they limit the use of the human characters, and where it is faithful to the games is more in the realm of Easter eggs. Whereas this has to be faithful in story structure, faithful in character-driven elements, way more than something like a Sonic does, which I loved.
The Last of Us was really good at capturing emotion. And I actually, after I watched the PewDiePie playthrough of it instead of playing it myself. But after I watched that, I looked into how they made it, and they like attached these sensors to the actors' faces so that they could like properly render that into the CGI characters. And I think maybe a happy medium between Pedro Pascal just playing the game and then imitating Joel way too much would be watching Troy Baker acting in like live action scenes. I know they recorded that.
Yeah, they always record for posterity, or like they record to have it on record of like the actual process of them doing the game capture.
That might be way better source material for him.
You mean the recordings, like when they put the sensors on and he's like dramatizing for the game? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
Plus, he would have access to the written scripts and everything from those cutscenes and everything. Like, he could very easily get, and who knows, he might be actually doing that, but he's also going to worry about, am I accessing the emotions that are supposed to be conveyed by the character in the game right now? Because the scene that he's going to be shooting is being written differently, so then he'll have to access something completely different. So he's got to find like this middle ground, which is why I'm always saying like it is not a positive to have these have all this source material. A lot of the times you're setting yourself up for failure because the gaming community is more likely than most to not accept it as when they deviate from the source material, but the director knows that you can't do a shot-for-shot recreation because that doesn't work either. So it's like all you do is have built-in obstacles for the director and built-in obstacles for the fans of stuff they have to overcome just to like this adaptation, and that makes it very difficult for all parties involved.
Actors just gotta start taking these movies seriously, man, because like I bet it was kind of weird to have all these like A-listers do Marvel movies, but this is the next natural progression.
Yes, it is.
This is the biggest, like most monetizable entertainment faction. Like,
but the way I see it, they already ruined The Last of Us with the second game. Like everyone hated it.
Yes, everyone.
So why are you trying to make even more out of a franchise that people are dissatisfied with?
Because they're not going to be adapting the season 2, the second game storyline yet.
How do you know?
I would hope. Okay, let me rephrase that. I would hope that they're not doing that. But the other thing is like maybe the games, like maybe they take this as their ability to like go against that and like they keep him alive in the second season of the show and break from the continuity of the games, which is one that for once they would actually like the veer off, veer away from canon would be if they actually fix something that the fans felt like is a mistake in the games, especially not when they're going to want to make. Yeah, I know.
They battled against it so hard.
I'm literally pie in the sky right now. Like,
they were
maybe they will.
Love my game, bigots. Like they went like full.
And if it doesn't work, we have the results of Halo, which has a 69. I'm just giving you an example of what happens when you try to please the audience that is not your target audience, and you try to branch out when you already have a video game audience that's diehard and could make you all the money you need. And it says average tomato meter from critics 69, audience score 55%. And if they go along the same lines as Halo, that's what they're they can look forward to.
You did it, guys. You did it.
You took one of the most profitable and beloved franchises in history and made it meh.
Ooh, good for you. Another hunk of shit, huh? Congrats.
You look very happy.
Yeah, no, I'm like congratulating them. They didn't play the game. They didn't need to. Yep. They wrote nearly 300 scripts. They were all terrible and everyone hates it. Congratulations. You did it.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.
Bye.